Hello everyone, this is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. I'm just trying to get settled here. Hello everyone, this is Debbie Henderson. Oops, let me get my iPad ready. So sorry I'm a few minutes late. So it snowed here yesterday and I actually had to bring my car in to get snow tires put on, and I'm just getting back. So I might be a little flustered here because I'm not quite all set up. So I'm going to bring out one project at a time. So I had done a poll on our Stampin' Ink Designs group, and you guys, the vote was really high on the Frosted Foliage stamp set, along with the Frosted Frames dies, which I don't have in here because I'm using most of them today. So this is what I'm using to do two projects. Hello everyone, I can see you all jumping on. I'm so glad to see you. So I'm going to do quite a few layers on my projects today. I'm doing some heat embossing. I'm doing some really two cool projects. So let me bring in what I need for the first one. I am using the Mary Merlot cardstock. I'm really falling in love with this color. This color speaks Christmas to me lately. This measures 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 4 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and fold that on the score line. And I'm going to start out actually doing the stamping on this background before I show you the rest. But I'm using mint macaron. It's a scrap that I'm actually going to cut out with this pretty die that comes with the die set. So let me bring the card in so I can show you guys. This is the card I'm going to be showing you how to make today. Isn't that pretty? Look at all the die cuts and all the layers that I've added together there in clusters. Now what I've done on the background, I've actually done some white heat embossing. And I'm going to show you a little trick that I used with that also. So let me bring in what I need for the heat embossing. I'm using Versamark ink. I'm using the embossing buddy. I'm using the white embossing powder. And I'm using two of the stamps that came with the kit. This one here, which has a little bunch of berries. And then this one, it almost reminds me of some wildflowers that I see in the summer. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my embossing buddy. For those of you guys that have never done wet embossing, this is used mostly to remove the static. So when you pour your embossing powder, it doesn't grab the static and spread. And also sometimes you might get greasy fingerprints on your cardstock that you don't see, but once you start stamping, it might interfere with your stamping. So all I'm gonna do is fill up my background with some of these images. Now Versamark ink is like a watermark ink, so it shows up clear when you put it on. Let's see, I'm just going to add a couple more. Now let me go ahead and add the smaller one. Now I know I'm going to be covering most of the center, so I'm not even going to bother stamping there because it's going to be covered anyway. So all I'm doing is filling in. Let's see, I'm going to add one right here so we can maybe see the tip of it. And now I'm going to use the white embossing powder, and that's going to stick to it. I think I used heat embossing the other day for a project, and somebody asked me what was inside my container along with my embossing powder. And I'm going to show you in a minute in case you've never heard of this. So there's my powder. You can see that it's stuck to all of the images that I stamped. Let me bring this closer so you can see. There's some chunks in there. That's actually white rice. And then I also have this little pill. You know when you get pills and you get these little pillow packs inside your pills? So the reason I do this is sometimes your powder, there might be moisture in the air, and this helps to absorb the moisture so it doesn't ruin your powder. And the rice is actually heavy enough so that when you pour it on, it just falls off. It doesn't stick to the Versamark ink. So I just thought I would explain that. Now I'm going to make a little bit of noise with the heat tool. just so I can melt the powder. It's just going to take a minute for that to heat up. And how you know the powder is melted, it'll start getting a really bright white. And it'll also be shiny. So I had to go around. So you can see the difference with this part that's melted and that part that's not. It's a lot brighter. So it'll just take me a minute to get this all melted. Can you guys see the difference when I hold it up like that? And I know especially when you use like gold or silver or copper, any of the metallics, you can see a big difference after you melt everything. So this is kind of like making your own background. I'm almost done. Okay, I got one more to do. Now this is where I would kind of just bend it back and forth like this to make sure everything's nice and shiny, which it is. Now the little tip that I want to show you today, because I know you guys all enjoy learning tips from me. I'm using a Mary Merlot Stamping Right marker. Even though the cardstock is the same color, I'm actually going to color all of my berries in. And it just adds some nice subtle coloring to the background. I'm going to hold this up here so you can see what it does. So see how nice that looks, even though it's the same color. It's a little bit darker and it really stands out. It just adds a little bit of color to your background. So it'll just take me a few minutes here to color all of these berries. If you have some blends markers, you can do the same thing. So you can see these color rather quickly. And then once the card is done, I'm actually going to show you how to make a 3D project to go with the card to put some treats in. Okay, let's see. I've got one more cluster of berries to color. And I'm just kind of going round and round, just getting everything colored. And then another thing that I did is all of the bigger flowers, I just kind of colored on the inside. Just on the larger ones. And again, that just adds a little bit of detail. And I will bring this up closer to the camera so you can see it once I'm done. Let's see, this one right here. Now what I normally do after I color, because some of the marker does get on top of the white embossing, so I usually use a tissue. And you can see that it does. There is some there to wipe off. Okay, now see how those flowers really pop? It just adds a little bit of dimension to all of the flowers and the berries. So now I'm going to actually bring in everything else that I'm using. I'm going to use the Big Shot just once tonight or this afternoon. I've gone ahead and used the frame die to cut one for the sentiment layer. I'm using the snowflakes. I've cut two here. Now the only die I'm not using today is this one, but I wanted to show it to you anyway. It kind of goes with the flowers that I stamped in the background. And then this die cuts two of these sprigs. You get the larger sprig and then three little smaller ones. Now the only thing I have left to cut that I wanted to show you was this frame image. So let me bring in the Big Shot. And the reason I want to show you is that because I've been experimenting and these detailed dies actually cut better if you put them facing up flat on your platform and position the cardstock on top. it seems to apply more pressure and it seems to cut better. And I usually roll it through twice, back and forth twice. And see how easily this pops out? And then we just have a few little pieces there. I usually use my die brush, but I didn't bring it out today. So I'm just going to poke them out. But this cuts so well when you put it on your Big Shot platform facing up. Okay, look how pretty that is. I'm actually using a bunch of these on the 3D project, but I've already gone ahead and cut them ahead of time. So now let's bring the card back in. I'm going to add dimensionals. So this card is really quite easy, and it's just layering die cuts. Lots of layered die cuts. So this one you could use as is, or you can layer the frame like I did right there. So let's glue this in place. Now I'm going to bring the white one in, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment with the Mary Merlot ink. And I'm actually going to open up my card so I can have something dark to stamp on. You can see what I'm doing. Okay, and there's my little sentiment. I love the font on this sentiment. And then I'm also going to glue this down with dimensionals. That's going to go right on top of the, and this is soft sea foam, I forget to tell you, for the cardstock. Now let's bring in all the other pieces and start gluing. So all I did with these is just add glue to the back. And then I just kind of tucked them in under the sentiment layer. So there's the larger one. This is the smaller one. And I'm going to add another small one off to the side. So just tuck and glue, very simple. It looks complicated, but it really is not. There's that one. And the more you add, the more elegant it gets, don't you think? Now I've got two snowflakes. This is the larger one. It's going to go up here at the top. And one little one in the opposite corner. And then to finish off, I've got a bunch of pearl jewels I'm going to add. So the larger one I'm adding inside the center of each snowflake. There is another snowflake down here that's soft sea foam. And then I just kind of, whoops, where did that one go? I just kind of added some to some of the greenery. This one here is being stubborn. You know, when something like that happens, I always say it must be male. That's why it's being stubborn. It's a male pearl. Here's another one, just like it. Oh, that one popped up in the air. I just noticed I should have added one here that I did not. These are just being stubborn today. Let's see if I can pick it up. Okay, and that's my card. How quick was that? Isn't that pretty with all the die cut layers? So now I'm going to make a coordinating box to go with this. Let me go ahead and get what I need. And I'm going to show you the box that I'll be making. So it's using the same die cuts on all four sides. And then you can just put a cello bag in there with treats and some little tissue paper. So this is going to go to coordinate with the card. And I have a lot of die cuts that I cut ahead of time. So there's four sides to this. So I cut 4 of the frame. I've got 4 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me see what else I need. Okay, for the box itself, now this is going to be for the bottom. This measures 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then I have 2 pieces that measure 6 inches by 3 inches. So now let me move these aside so we can create the box. I'm going to bring in my scoring tool. And for the bottom of the box, we're going to score at 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's what this looks like. And I'm going to show you how to assemble that. And then on the 6 by 3, we're going to go 2 3/4 and 5 1/2 on both pieces. 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. Whoops, I didn't go all the way on that one. And now I'm going to show you on the bottom. All I'm going to do is snip on the score line, and this little tab, I'm going to actually angle both ends. So it looks like this. So I'm going to do that 4 times. There's 2. It just makes it easier when folding if you angle the little tabs. That's 3 and 4. So now I'm going to bring in the bone folder and just fold everything nice and neat. And usually before I go live, I always check all my supplies, but this time I just got home and I rushed right over here, so I'm hoping I didn't forget anything. Now, what I'm going to do is add glue dots to each tab. These tabs are so small that the glue dots are perfect. And then I'm just going to bring the tab to the inside, press that in place. So we're going to have a 4-sided little flat box-like thingy. Okay, so there's my little box bottom. Next, I'm going to do the other 2 pieces. I'm going to actually fold on the score lines. Now I'm going to bring in some tear and tape. And I need to go around the whole box, or the whole box bottom, I should say. Can you guys figure out what I'm doing yet? Okay, and then I also need on the 2 little tabs on the end. And then I'm just going to use my bone folder to burnish that. I'm going to peel this one off. So both of these are facing the same direction where the small tab is on the end. So I'm going to layer this one on top of the first one. And now I'm going to remove the tear and tape around the box bottom. And then I'm going to lay that right on top and go around all 4 sides. Now when I get to the last side, I need to actually snip a corner off, and I'll show you why. Because I need to actually tuck this inside. So now, whoops, I didn't mean to stick that. I'm just going to peel this off. I'm going to press this in place. And it doesn't matter that it's shorter because I'm going to have the die cut sitting on there. Okay, so there's my little box. How quick was that? Now let's go ahead and bring all of the pieces in. I am going to go ahead and grab my die brush just so I can take all of these little pesky pieces out. I'm just going to run that through. See how easily those come off? So I got to do this 4 times. I love this tool. I use this die brush a lot. We even have one that goes on our Take Your Pick tool also. Okay, so now the little trick to this is because there's 3 sides, you want your bottom to be flat. So we're going to have to cut off the bottom on all 4 and make sure that they're all facing the same. So there's 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm going to start out by gluing my first one. So my first one does not need to be altered. That's going to fit right on top because when I made this box, I measured how wide this was. And I wanted it all to be the same. Now, because we have leaves and stuff sticking out here, we can't put this, okay? This is going to be in the way. So we need to cut this off so that it can rest against the other side. So now this one's going to go right here. So you see how by cutting this off on the end, it fits nicely against the one that's already there. Now we're going to do the same thing on the next one. So this needs to be cut off. So this is side number 3. Isn't that neat how it all comes together? Oops, I didn't put enough glue on this one. Okay, so we got 3 sides. Now on the last one, you have leaves sticking out on both ends. So we need to cut off even both sides. So here's the right hand side. I'm going to flip this over and cut off. So all you have left on the last one is just this up here. Okay, so that's going to slide right in there. See how simple that was? You guys can do this. I know you can. Now we want to decorate the sides with some Mary Merlot. So I've got 2 pieces here. This one measures 3/4 of an inch by 5.5, and it's scored in the center at 2 3/4. This one is a little bit longer because I needed a tab. This one is 3/4 of an inch by 6, scored at 2 3/4 and scored at 5.5. So this one has 2 score lines. And the reason being, I can't go all the way across and on top of this. So this one has to start out here. And then I have this one that goes on top of that one. So I'm going to go ahead and add more tear and tape around all 4 sides. So this had to be kind of well thought out when I started doing this. Oh no, I just grabbed my little leaves. Oh, I didn't rip it off. I'm so surprised. So yeah, this had to be well thought out because of all the pieces sticking out in the way. Especially right here. That one's in the way, so you can't go around the box 4 times. I hope that makes sense. Now, let's peel this off. So again, I'm going to start out with the one that has the tab on the end. It's going to go on the bottom. And I just felt that I needed to add this strip only to go with the card because the card has some Mary Merlot on it. So I just felt that I needed to add just a tiny strip of that color to go with it. Okay, so this is side number 3. And then side number 4. Now, I just want to straighten out all my little branches here. Okay, so now we are back to the front. Now, what I did on the front is I added the same sentiment that I had on the card to go with the card. And on the other three, I added the snowflake image. So let me go ahead and bring in the snowflake image. So we'll do that 3 times. There's 1, 2, and 3. And then the 4th one is going to be the one with the sentiment. Let me see if I can find some dark cardstock here that I can stamp on. Okay, so now all we have left to do is to get everything glued in place. And I have a whole bunch of die cuts here that I did ahead of time. And then 2 more snowflakes. And these are all glued down with Stamping Dimensionals. So the worst part is going to be putting these on and then peeling them all. And then I did the same thing with the Call Me Clover. This is Call Me Clover. I forgot to tell you guys the color. I just tucked and glued them all in place once all of my sentiment layers were glued in place. So now this one is the sentiment that's going to go in the front. So you can see that even though this is meant to work on cards, it looks fabulous as a little box, as a little treat box. So now I just got to put these down, and then the rest of it will go pretty quickly because it's just tucking in all of the greenery. There's number 2. So the reason I started out with a soft seafoam card base, only because I thought maybe some of the color would peek through the corners. So I wanted to make sure I was covered in that sense. Okay, 1 more of these. This is the worst part, peeling up off the backing off all of the dimensionals. Now let's go back to the front. Same thing, we've got the large snowflake that's going to go at the top, because I wanted it to match the card exactly. We've got the small snowflake on the bottom. Now when you're gluing this one on the bottom, make sure it doesn't go beyond the box so that it obstructs the way that the box sits when it's on the counter. Now I'm just going to start tucking all of these green pieces in, these Call Me Clover pieces, because it just adds so much by adding that additional layer. Okay, now I'm going to flip this over. So I think I'm just adding 2 to each side. Whoops, that one stuck to my finger. This is the smaller one. The larger one actually has 2 branches. Here's your large one. And again, I'm going to flip this over and do the same thing. And this goes right here. And then we just have 2 more left to glue. I'm almost done. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm so glad you guys are here today. I usually do these classes on Wednesdays, but I just couldn't squeeze it in this week. So I am like a couple days late, but that's okay. You guys are here. And for those that are watching later, that's fine too. Okay, so now let's go back to the front. I'm not going to do all 4 sides with you because you can see how I did all that, but I'm going to go ahead and add the pearls just to the front. I did do pearls on all 4 sides. So again, those are the snowflakes. And then I added some little ones. You actually could go crazy with the pearls on this box because you could actually add some to the centers of all the snowflakes too. Okay, so I'm just going to do the front for now. You can see that I added pearls to each side, and I'll finish that up in a little bit here. But I just wanted to show you how neat it was to create a box, and look how fancy that looks with the die cuts up at the top and on each side. Let me bring the card back in, and that's my card for today. And I hope you guys enjoyed me using the Frosted Foliage stamp set and the Frosted Frames dies today. I hope you enjoyed the little treat box, and I'll have pictures later to show you close-ups also. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I hope you have a good long weekend for those of you that have Monday off. And I will see you again soon for my next Facebook Live. Just look for an announcement. Have a good weekend, everyone.